tag at your place.
Wow.
They all live right behind.
That's, oh yeah, yeah. They use, they're like a thoroughfare fair right beside our lot there. And they just go on by. They don't stop at our house. Yeah.
Keep making those payments.
Right. Yeah.
Keep them.
Well, you're right there by the, right by the trailhead, over there by the waterfall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
There you go. Yeah, our first year too, we had mama deer and fawns through our yard. They come through, eat our plants. And then the next year, maybe saw them 3 or 4 times. And then this past year and a half. Sea fox.
Yeah.
Was it me?
Yeah.
Or is it, do you notice the give you a heads up?
It is 10 o'clock. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Meet the Candidates Forum. We appreciate your interest in participating in this vital part of the voting process. And first and foremost, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thank you to all the candidates. Your willingness to serve and dedication to our community is truly appreciated. We are grateful for the time and effort you have put into your campaigns and for joining us this morning to share your visions and plans. To our audience, thank you for coming out today. Your engagement and willingness to learn more about the candidates and the platforms are crucial for making informed decisions in the election. Your presence signifies the importance of civic involvement, and we appreciate your active participation. As we proceed with the forums, let's remember the importance of being respectful and having an open mind. This is an opportunity to listen, to ask questions, and to understand the perspective of those who aspire to lead our community. Once again, a thank you to our candidates and everyone in the audience and those watching online. Let's make this a productive and enlightening session. Without any further ado, let's begin the forum. This is a 2-hour event. Please hold your applause till the end of the forum. It would be greatly appreciated if members would enter and exit quietly as to not disturb the rest of the audience. Verbal interaction between the audience and the candidates during this forum will not be permitted. The members will observe rules of decorum and will refrain from making any derogatory gestures. Any continued actions may result in an individual or individuals being asked to leave the forum. This applies to both the audience and the candidates. Everyone in attendance, please turn off or silence your cell phones or any other communication devices while attending the forum. This forum is being streamed and recorded to allow members who could not attend to view this forum live or at a later date. Order of addressing questions by each candidate shall be in the following order. The first question begins with the first candidate on the ballot. The second question begins with the second candidate on the ballot. The third question with the third candidate on the ballot, and so on. Each candidate shall have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. The timekeeper will hold a reminder when 30 seconds remain, and then again when 15 seconds remain. Prepared questions, after being filtered for similarities and respectful language and chosen at random, will be asked to the group. Each candidate shall have 1 minute to respond to the questions. The timekeeper will hold up a reminder with 15 seconds to go. If a question is directed to a specific candidate, it must be issue focused. The candidate will have 1 minute to respond with a 15-second reminder. Each candidate shall have 1 minute to address the audience for their closing remarks. The timekeeper will hold up a reminder once again with 15 seconds remaining. All questions will be returned to the business office to be destroyed within 1 year. And with that, let's start the introductions. Sean?
Good morning. Thank you very much for showing up, guys. Sorry. Really appreciate it that everyone showed, interest in our community like this. Everyone knows who I am pretty much, I think, by now. So you kind of know where I stand with keeping Pine Mountain Club affordable. But we do have some issues that I would like to bring to our attention that needs to be addressed. One is the bear issue. We do have a lot of bears this year, and we have to figure out a way that our community can start to really be proactive in keeping them away from homes. Another thing that we should be looking into is fire hardening our homes. Fire season is upon us, and so the risk is there. I know that we do have products out there that I put onto my house that will help sustain my area if a fire does occur. So that is definitely something we should be looking into. And another thing that we should really look into as far as the clubhouse goes is solar panels and solar energy, and having it for the community. I think that right now we have a 23% increase in electricity bills. That's just Edison doing what they're doing. We have got to combat that. I think that if we bring a grant writer in, we'll help the members achieve these types of goals, getting grants for fire hardening, keeping our forest safe. And I see I have 30 seconds left, so thank you very much again for coming, and I'll pass it on to my next door neighbor here.
Good morning, my name is Candace Bennett. We've been visiting the area since 2011 and then moved here full-time in 2021 with our young son, and we now have a second child here as well. When we moved here, I joined the planning committee, and the last 2 years have been the chair of the planning committee. And one of the kind of initiatives on that in our 5-year strategic plan that we monitor and kind of oversee is our kind of broader catastrophe plan and what we do in emergencies. And that's something that I would like to see have further momentum. We've had a great influx in just volunteers the last 9 months on the EP committee and the Radio Safety Net and their efforts to get everyone at least onto communications where we have the means of reaching everyone in a disaster. They have tremendous skill sets and knowledge, and I would like to see that effort really propelled forward to bring us a broad community plan for if we had to evacuate the mountain or shelter in place during a large disaster. So those are kind of the big initiatives that I want to see from the board, and looking forward to serving.
Randall.
Yeah, Randall Gates. I'm going to just cut to an important issue. We just recently received a update on the clubhouse remodel. I have copies if anybody would like to see one, but I look at underlying issues that affect the entire community. I would like to see a temporary moratorium on any major remodel projects until we've better procedures and controls in place for any projects of this scope. Projects that are clearly a category that require member approval. I believe we need agreement on what the cost, when the cost of a modest improvement to our facilities becomes what is considered a capital improvement and prohibits unlimited use of our reserves. We need agreement on limitations of carry forwards of our budget surpluses. Carryover bylaw 1010 does not allow allocations to building funds, yet 1.3 million of our budget surpluses went into building funds. We need agreement on how reserves are determined. Right now, we are either at 47% or 94% funded. I think that should be clarified. I believe we need a comprehensive and transparent review of how the clubhouse expansion has been managed to date and identify changes in procedure that must take place before any new remodel options are presented. In a minimum, I believe we need to consider reinstating limits on the board's authority to borrow without member approval. We need to increase internal controls over all aspects of our reserves. These are not rainy day funds. I have 30 seconds. Place formal limits, the brevity challenge, this is difficult. Place formal limits on funding for unimproved projects, even when in the planning phase. And clarify, especially when special assessment protections are required under David Sterling for the members. I'll finish this on my closing. Thank you.
Rob?
Good morning, everyone. Rob Fredericks. My wife Shannon and I moved up here. Well, we purchased our home here 4 years ago, and we love Pine Mountain Club, and I want to continue loving it, and that's why one of the reasons I'm running for one of the positions. And as I said at the last meeting, a well-functioning community should provide for our basic health and safety needs. And to achieve this, we need a competent and communicative board. It is essential to restore trust by promoting inclusive, transparent decision-making processes. That's been lost before. We need to bring that back. If elected, I pledge to ensure clear communication so all members feel heard and respected. Environmental stewardship and safety is a top priority. We must protect our beautiful mountain community, including promoting fire safety, protecting wildlife, and ensuring the health of our green belts. Regarding the clubhouse, we do need to present a range of renovation options, from minimal updates to more extensive rehabilitation, and evaluate these options against our financial capabilities, much like what Randall indicated, to reflect the collective will of our members. I understand the importance of financial judiciousness. My goal is to have membership fees managed judiciously, minimizing increases while maintaining quality services. From what I have witnessed, Todd and his team are doing a good job with refining operations and looking for more efficient administrative means throughout the POA. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to enhancing the well-being and prosperity of our community. Thank you.
Ross?
Yes, hi, my name is Ross Canton. I bring a lot of business experience and running multi-million dollar corporations. I was the owner and founder of Fifth World Entertainment and American Interactive Media, both of which were in the $5 to $10 million range, and I was the CEO. So I bring that to the board. I think the most important thing is fiscal responsibility from my perspective. I have 3 issues. We're running a slate. Cecilia is one of our candidates in our slate. And that is that, 1, we want the members to vote on most capital improvements. That's number 1. We want member empowerment. Members to be able to vote on many issues and be involved. And then the last thing is fiscal responsibility, meaning lowering assessments. If we eliminated the losses on the equestrian center, the golf course, etc., we would reduce our assessments by $300 just by getting rid of the losses. So from 1,961, it would be 1,600, and that's just one thing. The other thing is that I would love to see more involvement with the board, telling the owners, be more transparent and be more honest, so that there isn't this division between the board and the members.
Cecilia?
Hi, my name is Cecilia Torres. All I want to say is the reason that I want to be part of the BOD, because I believe by running by the board, it will give me the opportunity to help the community and help our members in understanding and support the community finances by investigate and provide them with true and accurate information with our budget and our projects. when you elect a member for the board, and you do the right thing, especially when the community trusted you and give you the opportunity to be part of the BOD and management, it's a matter of having integrity and self-respect to do the right thing for the community. I'm not gonna talk about finance, I'm not gonna talk about projects, because I'll be honest, I haven't been involved much in this community, but that's the reason that I wanna be part of this community to help. And one thing that I can say about myself, I'm loyal, transparent, and fair for the community, and people surround me. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out, as everybody can see, Arturo is not with us today. And so we'll be, bye. So we're starting our questions. Oh, I was just reminded to remind all the candidates to speak into the mics. Right. Our first question comes, why do some candidates continue to mislead members by stating that $170,000 was spent on the equestrian center when in fact the project was a hillside erosion control project that protected not only the equestrian center, but also protected Aleutian Drive, which is the main access road to the service center used by all members, and the north side of the golf course? Sean?
Okay, well, the board approved $174,000 on erosion for the hillside. Now, I don't know what the total figure was because the board hasn't given us the total figure, but they did approve $174,000 for that particular project. I also know that at the moment, we're approximately $220,000 in subsidies for the equestrian center. I believe that it can be better managed. I am all for the equestrian center. I was raised with horses. I did stunts on horses. I given horses to charities. It's a very vital amenity that we have, but it does need to be managed properly. That's my answer.
Thank you.
I
Candace?
think maybe where part of the confusion comes in and where I was equally confused. So the project originated as an A2 form, which is something that per our procedures is submitted to the planning committee. Our committee reviews the A2s and gives those back to the office, and then the board reviews. And so it, at least in my understanding of the timeline, came to the planning committee as a request from the equestrian center to deal with the erosion of the hillside for the safety of their horses. And this was something that I can't address the dollar amount. That's something that the board needs to probably have kind of a bookend on what they approved and what it actually came out to. But just for some context, this was not a satisfying A2 in my books. The quotes were mismatched, quoting two different scenarios of 3 pastures, 4 pastures, and I had asked for renderings on what this would look like. And due to the timeline of how quickly things are done, we couldn't get all the information.
Thank you. Randall?
Yes, I attended the board meeting when that resolution was presented. I did look at the agenda support, where the A2 form said we need more information before this can be taken care of. It was still presented and placed on the board's agenda and voted. Also, I believe I'm not sure the 170 was the full amount. I believe it was larger to begin with. I believe 150 of that was for railing. And that wasn't even addressed when the erosion issues were then presented as the rationale for proceeding. So follow procedure, allow planning to do their job, and be transparent.
Thank you. Rob?
Well, I would say this kind of goes along the same issue of what I spoke about in my opening comments about loss of trust because of not having clear communication between the board and the membership and the actions they take. I cannot speak specifically as to why some members say one thing versus another, you'd have to ask those members that. But I do believe, as the others have mentioned here, that the equestrian center can be managed better. I believe there are already efforts underway to do that. I would like to see the equestrian center be self-sustaining and successful for the entire community. I'm a big horse lover myself, grew up on a horse ranch, so there are many benefits to having horses in our community that everyone can enjoy.
Time. Ross?
Yeah, the equestrian center is another one of those, we call them the amenities, although amenities is not a word that we will find in our CC&Rs. We have assets. One of them is the equestrian center, the other one that has problems in terms of breaking even, and that is the golf course. The erosion issue, I felt, and I had mentioned this a long time ago when it was first proposed. You know, we have 22 acres in Valverde that we're dealing with erosion issues for the last 10 years. Dealing with erosion issues, you don't just put netting. You actually have to plant something, erosion plants, to hold the hillside. And lastly, you have to do terraces. So again, from my perspective, we've wasted a lot of money doing something that is not a fix or
Thank you.
an upgrade.
Cecilia?
Well, like everybody here, most of them, I love horses. I grew up with horses. I do own horses, not here in Mexico. And I'm not gonna talk about finance, how much money they approve or not. It's whoever is in charge, they should be managed better. One thing that I have to say about the question center is it should be self-sustaining. The majority of the members of this community, we shouldn't pay for other hobbies for other people, even though I love horses. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Our second question starts with Candace. Last forum, living wage was a buzzword. What does a living wage mean to you as far as an amount, and how did you arrive to that amount?
I don't have an amount in mind. That is a complex number. But I think what I would like to reiterate from the last forum is that we are in somewhat of a unique situation. Literally, physically, we are on the outskirts of kind of urban society. And so retaining quality people, retaining, just the functioning of our community, I think involves probably not just a living wage, but probably more than a living wage. People are not gonna wanna come out here to work if there's an hour drive, There's a cost to our distance from things, and we're gonna see that in construction, we're gonna see that in staff, we're gonna see that in, just traffic through the community. So I don't think there's a dollar number on it, but I do think it's something that we need to value more than we do already.
Thank you. Randall?
A complex issue. I think part of it is just a sense of fairness and equity in how all compensation issues are addressed. If someone's doing a lot of the work in getting the least of the pay, it becomes apparent, and I think it affects everybody, including the quality of the work. In industry, my policy be I would overpay qualified employees because I'm aware of the cost of attrition and the cost of despair when people are struggling to get by but really taking pride in their work. So it's a system-wide issue, I believe. We need to look at where the money's going. We've had $1,350,000, I believe, increase in payroll since 2019. I don't believe a lot of that is going to the people who are doing all the hard work. So it needs to be looked at from top to bottom.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, so living wage to me is, and it is different for different households, but you basically can boil it down to, can a household earn enough for the basic necessities of life? Keeping a roof over their head, not having food insecurity, being able to pay for their health care costs. All of that together goes into, do I earn a living wage? Unfortunately, It is a nationwide problem. Not, there is not a community in the nation where a household with 2 people earning minimum wage can afford a 1-bedroom apartment. We don't pay people enough for a living wage, and we need to revamp what our priorities are nationally. And I believe we can do that here locally with what we pay our workforce with proper budgeting and
Thank you.
guardrails. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross?
Living wage. Well, it depends on where you live, doesn't it? I mean, if you live in PMC, it's a lot different than living in Los Angeles and having to rent an apartment. And the costs are much, much different. It costs a lot more to live in Los Angeles than it does to live in PMC. Now, everyone should get a living wage. What that number is a question, depending on where you live. We have bonuses that we're giving out in PMC. Don't ask me why, but you know, we've given them out. $18,000 to the general manager, you know, various bonuses for who knows what. I don't agree with that. I think a living wage is based on the standard of living that you have and maintaining that, whatever that number is.
Thank you. Cecilia?
Well, living wage, I mean, we all need to make money. We all have to make money to pay our expenses, our bills. Here in Pine Mountain, if we learn to manage, our supervisor managers, to be more productive, more efficient with less employers, we should be able to pay better to the employees that actually have the opportunity to work here. So it's a matter of being more productive and well-trained with less employees.
Thank you. Sean?
I fought for wages for our union members when I worked for the Teamsters. A living wage today, right now, you go to McDonald's, $20 an hour. That's what they're paying. We're nowhere near that. And we expect our members, and they are members, a lot of our employees are members. They live up here. They do everything for us. For me, streamlining management, that's what you do. You streamline management, you give our employees, the hourly employees, a decent wage to live on. $20 an hour is not out of line here, in my humble opinion. It's already going across California that way, and that amount of money can be offset quite easily by doing things like streamlining management, also bringing up our amenities like the golf course. We pay $12 an hour for that, or $12 a round.
Thank you, Sean.
Pay more.
The next question is specific to Ross and Cecilia. Could you please clarify reports alleging that you have been personally approaching individuals of Hispanic descent in our community and urging them to vote for you with the aim of getting white people off the board? Please provide explanation.
You want to be first, Cecilia? I have no.
Ross,
You're
we're going in
you go
order.
First, okay. Well, my association with Cecilia is I've made a great new friend with a like mind and a very, very strong, intelligent person who can reason through the mishmash of PMC communication sometimes between the board and the membership. Now, in terms of having, creating or helping to create a slate with 2 Hispanics and a gringo is, you know, it was a little bit weird. But I wanted diversity, and I felt that we needed diversity. We needed other opinions coming from other sides of the community. And we've approached the Hispanic community as well as the Armenian community for votes. Yes, we have.
Thank
Because
you.
we want diversity.
Cecilia?
Well, all I have to say about that, like many members here question who's Cecilia, because even though I've been living here in this community for almost 9 years, actually 9 years, even my own family, my own community, all my family is from Mexico. They were questioning me, why you moving to the area which, most of them is white people, because my opinion, I don't mind. I have a great friend, all kind of, and this is American, you name it. I very recently met them. I don't know many members of this community. That's the reason that I want to enjoy this board. So I don't know what comment that's coming from, but I'm 100% sure it's not coming from me. I have never approached anybody. I will never do something like that. Like I said, I'm loyal, transparent, and fair with everybody.
Thank you. Just a reminder to the candidates, speak into the microphones. We can all hear you. Thank you. This question is for all the board, the committee candidates, sorry. Should the renovations be put on hold until the winners of this election is seated? Should the board form an ad hoc committee to evaluate the renovations? And we start with Randall.
That's kind of where I left off. Yes, I do. I believe we need to take a moratorium or a break, regardless if there's new directors coming on board or not. We have a lot of past history here on how things have been planned, how they've been executed, how they've been done, and how they haven't been done. And I think before we go forward, it's prudent to go backwards and look at actual experience and actual results, and review how it could possibly be done better, more transparently, more accountability. Instead of whether we wait for the new directors or not, I believe it needs to be done.
Thank you. Rob.
So I agree with Randall on this issue. In my 28-year career at the Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara, running it most recently in the last 8 years as the executive director, we've built hundreds of millions of dollars worth of multifamily affordable housing. And some of the actions that I've seen here on this whole history of the clubhouse renovation is a little bit mind-boggling. I would like us to pause and see what can be done as far as the renovations, what can we afford as a community, and take it from there. So yes, I think a pause is worthwhile.
Thank you. Ross.
I think a cease and desist was appropriate. We actually had a celebration last night that after 8 years of fighting against this expensive and unnecessary renovation of this building that we're sitting in right now, that it's dangerous, it should be red tagged, it should be this, it should be that. Let's get a new clubhouse. 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. How much? How much can we pay? Really? And all to come down to the reality that it couldn't be built in the first place. That's very sad, because it's on a fault line and because underneath is liquefaction. That's a big mistake, and it cost us $1 million. Cost the association $1 million.
Thank you, Ross. Cecilia.
I totally agree with them. They should put on hold everything. And then after the election, another thing that I want to say is the community should have the right to vote and decide what they want to do with their money. And especially with big projects for the renovation and everything. It's a matter of us two questions. Do I have the money? Do we have a good plan to get it done? And then if it's a matter of the board of directors to decide, or have the community to decide too. Give them the opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Sean.
Well, we know that a moratorium is definitely needed at this point in time. We also know that for the last over 6, 7 years, that the board has a fiduciary duty to repair and maintain our assets. They have not done that here. We see it, we talked about it last time, that the cost has railed out of control. The first time we had a blueprint projected to us was back in 2015-ish. Cost us $500,000 for those blueprints. This time around, we're looking at another $500,000 for these blueprints, and we find out now that we cannot even build the building that they wanted because of a fault line, soil samples. Kern County will not allow us to have it. So yes, a moratorium is definitely needed at this time, and we fix and repair what is needed.
Thank you. Candace?
I think our entire lineup here is in agreement on a moratorium, and I have numerous questions going into this whole situation. One of them being in 2017, when there was a vote on this project and it was voted down, what was then the pivot? We've proceeded in a direction with phases at one point in 2022, and then a project manager, and then an idea of funding it all in one piece. Where was the acknowledgement of voting it down? And why have we not reassessed that and come back to the members with a vote on how to do this? It's a very confusing, frustrating situation that it feels like we have completely ignored the members' input for almost 7 years now.
Thank you. The next question is for Rob only. Rob, in the last Meet the Candidates, you were asked if you were proud of spending had gone up from 10 million to 46 million under your CEO of HACBS. You said the budget had gone up. When we meet, you agreed that when the budget goes up, so does spending. What is the spending now as CEO?
So thanks, that's a great follow-up question from the last meeting. There's been a lot of conjecture about what we do at the Housing Authority and how we do it. So I brought annual reports of the Housing Authority here, our most recent annual report, for anybody to take, that they can see what a great job we do for the Santa Barbara community in providing affordable housing. Now, when I talked about the budget last week, it's about increasing the revenues so we can provide help to more people in need, more vulnerable households, seniors who have retired on fixed incomes, low-income working families who can barely afford to keep a roof over their head, or disabled individuals. That's who we help in Santa Barbara. So again, I would like to say I am very proud of our budget records and our revenues being able to meet our expenses. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for all the candidates. And we're starting with Rob again. How long have you lived in PMC, and are you a full-time or part-time here?
So first off, I am a weekender. I live, my permanent residence right now is in Ventura. We purchased our home in 2020, right before the COVID world shut down. After our first visit in 2019, we fell in love with this place, and we came up and found our forever home, and we purchased it. We plan to retire here once my kids get out of high school. We're done with Ventura. We're moving up here full time, and that's one of the reasons why I want to be on the board now, to be involved, to ensure that there's a long-term viability for our community.
Thank you. Now we've got a stack here of,
Is that for all of us?
oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Ross?
So Ross, thank you.
Repeat the question, I'm sorry, I lost it there.
How long have you lived in PMC, and are you a full-time or part-time here?
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty easy. We moved up here in 2012, and immediately while we were moving in, I had a heart attack and consequently had open heart surgery, and my wife had to take care of everything for the first probably 6 months while we were here. So we learned a lot about the community. We learned about getting fined or warned, I think it was. We never really got fined, if I'm not mistaken, for the stuff that we were moving in. My wife was unable to get it inside the house quick enough, and so Rory, the general manager at that time, basically cited us. This is a really, really unique and beautiful community, and we need to keep it affordable and reduce our assessments and enhance the community
Thank
as
you,
best
Ross.
we can.
Cecilia?
I'm a full-time, and I moved to this community 9 years ago, on May 2015. I commute to Mopar, and one of the reasons that not many people know me before this is because I'm a workaholic. Until 6 months ago, I have been working for two jobs. One of them is medical device company. The other one is aerospace. They told me 6 months ago they closed down one of the companies, so now I have only one job, and I have this opportunity to spend more time here on this community. And for the last 9 years, I haven't been able to enjoy it, even though I'm a full-time, and I commute to Mopark every day. So, and I'm working on opening my own business in graphic designs.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, I guess I'm the old guy in this panel right now. I've only been here for 24 years with my wife, retired full-time. I'd like to volunteer to the community quite a bit, and I have volunteered at the swimming pool. I've volunteered with the planning committee as a chair in the past. I've also had a astronomy evening that I've promoted. So volunteering is a big part of my life. My wife and I love the community. We have done everything in our powers to really keep it as tranquil and lovely as we can. And yeah, so there you go.
Thank you. Candace?
We moved here beginning of 2021, full-time, so it's been a little over 3 years. And we don't see ourselves leaving anytime soon. California, born and bred, both myself and my husband, and our families are both here in the state, and we have young children who enjoy seeing them, so you're stuck with me.
Thank you. Rendell?
Yeah, I moved in August of 19, just before everything went sideways. Always preferred being outdoors to indoors or air conditioning, and this is a very special, unique place. I've led backpacking trips for the Sierra Club into the High Sierras. I like being outdoors, and yet, and in my case, the natural amenities here are the primary attraction. I understand other people like and need other activities, which is fine, but the natural amenities, including the quiet and silence where I live, you could cut with a knife, is quite refreshing.
Thank you. This question is for Randall. You mentioned over $1 million spent on pre-construction costs not approved by members. Can you please provide details on that?
I can usually come up with details. The brevity challenged, I guess I'm known for that. Some of it's quite factual, the architectural fees. At this point, my tabulation is $610,000 for designs that have continually changed and now probably can't even be enforced. And concepts that could have been verified by the members ahead of time. Do we even want to go in that direction? A lot of new buildings, $610,000. We have $182,000 contract for RCS project manager before we had a project. And it was never it was approved in executive session, never ratified in open session, another 182,000. That's only 791,000. I've seen 230,000 this year so far, unbudgeted charges to our replacement reserve, unexplained. My assumption is
Thank you.
they're related, that comes to
Thank you,
1,020,000.
Randall. This question is for Rob. How are you going to combine your job in SB with your responsibilities in PMC?
Well, I would not have put my hat in the ring if I didn't feel I had the time to devote for the board responsibilities. It's a very important position here for PMC, and I will devote the amount of time that's needed. I have a wonderful housing authority team that does great work, and any one of us can step out and do their own thing, and our work continues on at the housing authority. So I have no issue with the amount of time that is needed. I've spoken with other board members about responsibilities, time commitments, and I can do it.
Thank you. This next question is for Ross. What is PMC Trudy? I believe that's your or the Facebook page. Who runs that? Is it part of real POA or will it merge with POA?
PMC Truth was a reaction to, was created as a reaction to what we felt was the lack of transparency and honesty from the board. I think originally it was, we started in 2017 when we were fighting the Taj Mahal at that time, which was the new clubhouse at that time in 2017. The whole idea of PMC Truth was to have honesty and transparency and communication, which we felt was not coming from the board and still has not come from the board. Has anyone tried to get documents here for any proof of anything? Oh, only my wife. That's it? Yeah, it's very difficult. It has been very difficult for the 13 years
Thank
we've
you.
been here.
The next question is for Mr. Gates. You have a lot to say on social media around finances. Why have you not attended the budget and finance meetings?
I've been busy. I've probably spent well over 1,000 hours, researching items in detail. And as I mentioned before, the past is quite relevant as a guide to what we need to do differently in the present and in the future. I'm aware of the Budget Finance Committee. I've talked to people that are on that committee. I don't believe I had much to add for what that committee does at this point, but I believe I put the time to very good use. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for Rob. You said you moved here. Are you here full-time?
Closer.
Well, I think we,
Hold it.
yeah.
So, asked and answered. I am not full-time. I live in Ventura. I'm a weekender here until my kids can launch out of high school and into college. Then that's only a few short years away. And then Shannon and I are up here full-timers.
Thank you. The next question is for all of you. What committees have you participated in the last 4 years? And we are starting with Ross.
What committees?
Yes.
Well, I was on the planning committee for a year with Bill Lewis during that time before he got elected to the board and became the chairman. So Bill and I had a lot of discussions on the planning committee. I have stepped into a number of committee meetings, but I felt that I was more relevant and more, I could affect the community more by doing things like the 3 productions that I did in this clubhouse with all the problems of the electricity and no other issues. Wizard of Oz, Pinocchio, and the Velveteen Rabbit. Great success, great kids, and I wish we had more of those events.
Thank you. Cecilia?
Well, guilty. None. 0. Like I say, I'm a workaholic. I've been so busy working, and now that I do have a chance, I would love to have opportunity to be part of any committee. I do have many skills, then I might be able to help. Like I say, I'm planning to open my own business on graphic designs. I can support with the sport. I used to play a lot of sport. I love horses. I'm a team player. I can work with any team, committee, you name it. I do have many skills that I should be able to help. I would love to join any, if I do get the opportunity, to join any committee.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, like I said before, I was on the planning committee as a chairman. I also was with Phyllis Throckmorton for helping to start the youth committee. Unfortunately, it was very short-lived. I would very much like to bring that one back into play. I think that the youth is our future. I believe that we can give more opportunities for them, and that is something that is really near and dear to my heart, and I know that we can actually use a lot of our amenities to benefit them. I'd like to see something like Scouting America to come in. I know that our general manager has had a history with Boy Scouts, so I would like to work with him in bringing that to the table. And also, like I said, I have done my own events with the Stargazing Nights, donating a telescope to the kids.
Thank you.
That's it.
Candace?
I've been on the planning committee for 2.5 years and chair of it for 2 years.
Thank you. Randall?
As I stated, I have not been on the Budget Finance Committee, and I've been doing a lot of independent study, you might say. I am aware of pretty much all, I believe the Budget Finance Committee is a year behind on their own minutes, by the way. I read through Governing Docs Committee minutes. I read through Budget and Finance when they're there. I do a lot of research on how, like, Bylaw 1010 was originated, why it doesn't always reconcile with the agenda or with our minutes of our own meetings. And so I've been in pretty much a lot of committees, just not quite as directly as one would like. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, so when we purchased our home up here, I wanted to get involved right away to bring some of my skills to PMC, so I joined the Budget and Finance Committee. And again, that was right at the time of COVID, and it was difficult. I also became very ill during that time. But since then, I was injected with like gamma rays or something like the Hulk it was, and I've come back bigger and stronger and better than before. So I'm looking forward to, whether I'm on the board or not, I'm looking forward to being involved on separate committees.
Thank you. The next question is for everyone. Do you believe the members have the right to regulate the board's ability to incur debt without member approval? We're starting with Cecilia.
Well, what I believe is community have to have the right to vote for big projects. Once we trust BOD, like they say, at least 5%, they can decide which project is the best for the community. I strongly believe that the community has to have the vote to approve any project.
Thank you. Sean?
Oh, look, the board has a fiduciary duty to maintain our our amenities and our assets. But when it comes to new building, when it comes to purchasing buildings, building buildings, whatever like that, they have a 5% of our budget. Anything over that must be brought to the members. The members must be able to vote on that, and that is included into a special assessment. And no longer are we going to use different, no longer are we going to actually use like the reserve account or other accounts to build or to create our different amenities that they're trying to create, like rebuilding it. So they have a 5%, that's it, that's state law, that's not just on our bylaws, and I would definitely adhere to every bit of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candace?
In my mind, debt means that it's something we have not budgeted for or is not set aside in our reserves. And so that is something that I do believe needs member input.
Thank you. Randall?
It's very clearly allowed in Davis Sterling. The members have the right to put complete restrictions on the board's ability to borrow. I believe when they were removed in November of 19, along with the infrastructure bylaw from, these are both originated in the 217 member vote, I believe they were removed inappropriately, and they're underlying that as an assumption that the members do not have these rights to regulate the board, but they do, and they need to be reinstated.
Thank you. Rob?
Agreed with my three colleagues here on the guardrails that need to be put in place, and there needs to be levels set that need to go to membership for a vote in order to protect the community, to protect the board as well. So at my organization, we have a clear procurement policy that is voted upon by the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority. That should be put in place here. I'm sure there's an operational procurement policy that gives guardrails for Todd and his team, but we need that overall procurement policy, and it should be published on the PMC website so that everybody knows where those different levels are of who can spend what and when without a vote.
Thank you. Ross?
When was the last time the members voted on anything? No one knows? I mean, the members should be able to vote on all new construction, on capital improvements that are over a certain amount of money. We should be involved and participate in all the decisions of the board, not just hearing about, oh, we spent $1 million or close to $1 million. And I would like to ask Randall this question: what did we end up with after spending that $1 million for the preparations for the new clubhouse? We ended up with nothing but payments to contracts that all they had to do was do the geological study to begin with. That would have eliminated all of this expense.
Thank you. The next question is for Sean only. What ideas do you have to help offset the risk of fires in our area?
Well, right now, we definitely have a problem with our green belt, and there's a lot of dead growth that's happening on these hillsides. I have concrete siding on my house. I have Trex decking. I also have a composite roof that I just put in with capping. There's also, if you look at my land, I have bonsaied all of my oak shrubbery. I've cleared and maintained my property, and I believe that we can use our community as a whole to help others that don't have that ability. I think that the youth can come in and we can give them training and let them get educated, let them get credits for helping the members. Things of that nature can help us fight back these fires that could eventually come here. I mean, I grew up in Agora, I've had fires, I
Thank you,
know
Sean.
what it's about.
Thank you. The next question is for all of you. How would you raise wages for the hourly employees without raising assessments? And we're starting with Sean.
Great question. Okay. Right off the bat, what I would do, like we do in the film industry, you have your general manager, you have a manager. Then you have supervisors for each department. Supervisors are on hourly wages. When they need something, the supervisor will email the manager. Manager will get the 3 hard bids, take it to the GM. GM approves whatever that bid is. Then they purchase whatever it needs to be purchased, as long as it's under that certain cap. That will also help offset, because we have so many managers, that will help offset some of the costs. Also raising some of the amenity costs that we have to the standards of what is in our other HOAs around here and local costs. For example, our golf course is $12 a round. Why don't we pay $25 a round? Very simple stuff that will help offset the costs, that will give our employees a better wage.
Thank you.
This
Candace?
is something that I think has so much potential. We are leaving an incredible amount of revenue on the table by not looking at what our costs are, what we can be charging the public who comes up here. There is immense opportunity there to be bringing in revenue to then help increase our hourly wages and even our benefits.
Thank you. Randall?
I'll go with Sean and Candace there. I just so happen to have a worksheet here that shows our payroll has gone up by close 995,000 since 2021, since the end. It's gone up $1.3 million since the end of 2018. Identifying revenue sources so we can have more efficient operations and we can compensate people appropriately is good. At the same time, highlighting inequities in the situation where possibly the funds are not properly allocated, and we have more payroll dollars than are necessary.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said on this question so far. As I mentioned, we had a similar question last week, and there's 2 levers. You either have your revenue lever, or you have your expense lever. Your revenue lever, one is assessments, but there are others that Candace mentioned, right? We can look at how we charge fees and encourage outside members to use some of our terrific resources here. And also we can look at operating much more efficiently here with Todd, looking at different ways to increase those efficiencies, to lower the expenses, or at least bring them in alignment so that we can pay staff more of that living wage that's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross?
Well, I think, the basic issue in terms of paying people more, if that's the issue, is basically reducing your expenses. We've been talking about the waste on the clubhouse preparation project, $1 million. We're talking about the 170 plus for dealing with the erosion at the equestrian center. Geez, did no one know that it was eroding? That you needed to plant plants there and terrace it before $177,000 to fix it? These are the mistakes, the short-term thinking of the board after board after board. We need to change that. And that is on our program, change. I know sometimes it's painful, but we need to change. We need to change
Thank you.
the association.
Cecilia?
Well, I believe we have so many managers and supervisors, in my opinion, is not necessary. If we learn how to be more productive and efficient, we can increase the wage of these employees by organize better. And if we need only one supervisor to manage different departments, we can do that. About the revenue from the golf course, like they mentioned, we can increase our fees. Whoever is willing to use and pay for that, it should be self-sustaining to help pay for our employees and increase their wage.
Thank you. The next question is for Rob. Some say you are running to be a proxy for Bill Lewis II and Bill Gertner. Please explain which of their policies you plan to carry forward. Be specific, please. What do you want to accomplish in your first year?
So here's the deal. I've never even met Bill. So I've seen him in the room attending board meetings and whatnot. I'm not a proxy for either one. Okay, what I have seen is a need to improve our board operations in terms of how the board is governed and how the finances are managed through the board at a certain, we are fiscal trustees for the PMC POA. What I hope to achieve in the first year is that change of bringing trust back, bringing communication back that's clear, putting in those guardrails that are needed for operations, and having a collegiality among the board that we can all work together.
Thank you. Next question is for all. Should the board form an ad hoc committee to evaluate what can be done to discourage bears from breaking in? We're starting with Candace.
This is something where I feel like we're somewhat defaulting to Fish and Wildlife and maybe even law enforcement. And maybe our hands are kind of tied in that situation. I'd really like to see a very strong, deliberate effort from the POA on handling it ourselves. And whether that's, fining someone into oblivion who is feeding bears and not refusing to stop. I don't know exactly, but I think right now it feels a little bit, at least from my end and the outside, that we are kind of punting the issue to Fish and Wildlife and law enforcement, and I'm not satisfied with that. So I would form an ad hoc committee for sure.
Thank you. Randall.
I guess we can say what we've been doing isn't necessarily optimal. And why not explore avenues involving members and specialties and see what they can contribute, because we have regulations without teeth. And the bears do, and there's a lot. We need to draw a firm line of what's tolerable, what's not, and figure out a way to hold our members. And I guess we can't quite talk to the bears, but at least encourage them to. Some of the destructions, destruction has just been heartbreaking, and the unnecessary cost. This is an important priority. It needs to be treated as such.
Thank you. Rob?
Again, agreed all with what was said. These folks know what they're talking about here with the issues. I also believe that we need to enforce our POA rules better, and including fining people and taking drastic action that's needed to stop the bear break-ins, and looking at other ways to do things with the members to ensure that our community is safe. I said that's a top priority of mine here, is that PMC PO8 is safe for all members. And frankly, it hasn't been safe. The issue with the bears, it hasn't been safe. We need to do a better job.
Thank you. Ross?
Well, I do believe that we can do a much, much better job in securing our homes from any kind of theft, any kind of damage. However, we live in a community where a large percentage of our homeowners are either part-timers or only come up to PMC maybe once a month or once every 2 months, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of vacant houses that we have to deal with as well. Identifying the houses that would be vacant, I think and patrolling them and securing them would be a really good policy for patrol and for the board and the general manager should know about.
Thank you. Cecilia?
Oh, yes, I definitely agree with everybody, and I agree with them. We should have a committee or create programs to help protect our town, either for any project that we decide to implement. And yes, I do agree.
Thank you. Sean?
Look, we can committee ourselves to death here. That's not the issue right now. The issue is bears are coming in, and they're going to come in more and more as the summer goes on. We need to have a real clear message to anyone that feeds our wildlife. We want to make sure that they are penalized and that they are not welcome in PMC if they continue. And that means homeowners or renters or visitors, any of them. To hear somebody throwing out bacon to get a selfie on the weekend, they leave. We are hogtied to what is going on. The bears will keep on saying, "Oh, hey, look, there's a house. That's food." We have got to make sure that the bears understand that this is not their home at this time. The mountains, up in the forest, that's where they belong. We have to be proactive and not just be committing.
Thank you. Pine Mountain Club isn't Aspen or Ojai or Santa Barbara or Beverly Hills or Las Vegas or a cruise ship. Over the years, efforts have been made to change PMC into something friendlier and more glitzy, like these other venues. Do you agree with this line of thinking? Why or why not? And we start with Randall.
Do I agree we should look, is the question, do I agree we should try to replicate an Aspen-like theme here? No. I believe nature has endowed us with some amazing amenities just as they are. And I didn't move up here for spending more time indoors. If we fire harden our community and we take care of emergency preparedness, hopefully we can all live to enjoy this place as it is. I think it's non-essential versus essential uses of our money. I understand the need to maintain properly, keep the buildings safe, aesthetically pleasing, but a lot of attention's gone, in my opinion, into non-essential activities and has been a drain on the moral and consciences of this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob?
Yeah, so, each place that was mentioned there, they all have their individual allure that some people like, some people don't. Like, individually, I don't like Las Vegas. I try to avoid that place at all costs. I love PMC for just what many of you love it for, the nature, the beauty, the people. Last weekend at the Lilac Festival, I mean, just waving at people, talking to people, it was a slice of Americana, and that you don't get that in other communities that we have here. And I want to keep that essence that PMC has here.
Thank you. Ross?
Well, we are a unique and beautiful community that only has approximately 2,800 members. It's such a small community that we can't compare ourselves with another community that has 10,000 people or 20,000 people. We have to tailor our needs and our budgets to what the membership here wants. And we just recently got a survey. I was not very happy with that survey. Candace did a lot of work on that survey, but I still was not very happy with it because I didn't feel like it did its job of foreseeing the next 5 years.
Thank you. Cecilia?
I wouldn't change anything about PMC. I love this community the way it is. I would love to see maybe some improvements here and there, create some programs to make it more attractive for the community. Like Rob said, last festival, Lila Festival, it was wonderful, it was nice. I would love to see, to come up with ideas of programs to enjoy more of that festivities. But I wouldn't change anything about the PMC. I love the way it is.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, we're not in Aspen. We don't have the, we just don't have those types of amenities here. People are not gonna come up here expecting to go snow skiing or water skiing or anything like that. But what we do have is we do have a business district that does need assistance. We do have a community here. We do have a golf course. We do have things that outside people can enjoy, within reason. We do have short-term rentals here, so people do come up on the weekends. We've just got to make sure that they're educated and that they know that there are certain parameters that they must follow. I do believe in bringing new money into the area because at that point, it will help offset our costs. When we can sit there and say, okay, it's $85 to play a round of golf, and here's golf balls, and here's a cart, 18 holes, that's revenue from outside sources that will help us in the long run.
Thank you. Candace?
We moved here for a reason, and it was not for Aspen or Las Vegas, ever. I do want to kind of highlight a couple pieces that were said. I think there is a wonderful fine line of how do we take advantage of the short-term rentals that are here and kind of the seasonal traffic that comes through. And like Sean said, use that to help offset some of our costs, but not with this goal of expanding PMC into something that it's not. I agree with Rob. It's a beautiful community when you know almost everyone here. And to be able to, walk around, say hi, get help if needed, that is something that does not exist in those larger places. And I don't want to lose that element of having a tight-knit community.
Thank you. The next question is, what is your business plan for funding the reserve funds? For example, number 1, current funding, or number 2, 100% funding, or number 3, threshold funding. And we start with Rob.
Oh, great. One of the most difficult questions, and you start with me, and I can't crib off others. So I believe there needs to be threshold funding on the reserve. So, if we're down at the 40-some-4% level that others have stated, it needs to be much higher than that. I believe at least up to a 75 to 80% level, and we need to target that before others, and we need to put that into the budgets. So at the beginning of the budget cycle, so that we know where our level is going to end up at the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross?
I wish we would stop dipping into the reserve fund to do capital improvements or new projects, new buildings, new anything, preparation for the new building that never happened, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need to go into our reserves to take money out for anything. We should be able to do that through our assessments. They keep going up. Are we getting more things from what we're paying? So the reserve fund, as Randall said earlier, Randall is much, much better at the numbers than I am, and much more meticulous. However, the intent that we do and of taking money from the reserves, just sort of moving the money around is not a good policy and not.
Thank you. Cecilia.
I'll pass on this question.
Sean.
Reserves. Number one, we don't know what our reserves are actually at the moment. We need an outside reserve specialist to come in here and give us exact numbers, because right now we have 4.765 million in reserves that will offset the cost for phase 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's what's in here at page 12 of our reserve study. That's not even built. It's not even part of our, it's just not, so we need direct numbers. And once we have the direct numbers, we will probably find out that we are most likely in the 80% range possibly. But again, I'm not gonna put out numbers because I don't know for a fact, but I do know that there are very legitimate questions on this reserve report that is online with PMC POA that everyone must look at because it's wrong.
Thank you. Candace.
I think this is the cornerstone question to our entire operation right now, because we have, on one hand, the board putting in the new renovation costs into reserves, and then on the other hand, we have independent researchers saying that is not allowed in reserves, that is a capital improvement. And we're not getting a clear understanding of, okay, who is right? Week one, I would like to see an outside entity, whether it's a Davis Sterling attorney or independent attorney, come in and lay out what are the legal options for our reserves. And if there are various scenarios that fall under the law and it's now just a moral decision or a best judgment decision, then the 9-member board needs to vote on that. But that is the question we have right now, because we are either almost fully funded or we are underfunded based on this remodel being included in reserves.
Thank you. Randall.
My plan would be to get it right and then put guardrails around it so it doesn't go sideways again. We put 1,084,000 of our budget surpluses into the reserves. Sounded like a great idea. 990,000 of that, or 91%, was spent on the renovation. It got sidelined, it got spent, it's not there. These aren't rainy day funds. These are specific reserves for specific items that have specific rules. And we have paid half of an architect's fee of 600,000 out of the reserves, and it's not a valid excuse. You may have a small design for a new roof that's acceptable, but there are limits. And this is completely out of control in my view, and it needs to be nailed down and then have guardrails that make sure that it is monitored and always transparently verifiable that we are still operating off a solid
Thank you.
foundation.
Next question is for Sean. You have blocked so many members on Facebook. How do you think you can hear dissenting views from others?
5. I have blocked 5. And I think that for me, I get their views, I get their attacks, I still, people still give me their information. I don't use it against them. I don't think that it's productive to argue with someone that is a constant back and forth. I just don't. I don't do that. In person, I try and be cordial. I try to be nice. I say good morning. I say hello. But online, I think that it gives people the idea that they can continue to attack behind the screen. I won't allow myself to go down that road. I just don't do it. But that doesn't mean I can't work with them, doesn't mean I can't be friendly with them.
Thank you.
When I see them.
Please summarize your view regarding STRs, addressing the pros and the cons to our community. State your position as to limits on STRs. We start with Ross. You're Ross. Ross.
Bob
Ross.
or Ross?
Canton. Ross.
Can't.
Hear you. Me? Okay. No, I'm not fond of, as with the last forum that we had, I'm not fond of short-term rentals at all. I'm happy that we don't live, our house is not situated where we live next to people who do short-term rentals. I wish we could get rid of it completely. I know it's a source of revenue, but the only thing I would say is it really has to be regulated so that the neighbors don't complain about parties and things like that. And it really, we're creating two different rules. You know, the members that live here full-time have to adhere to the rules, and then the weekenders or people who come in to party and rent adhere to a different set of rules. So I'm against it.
Thank you. Cecilia?
I'm in favor of the revenue for the PMC community, for the STRs, if we can regulate and have somehow control, then they don't come and destroy our community or respect our rules. I kind of agree with that, short-term rentals.
Thank you. Sean?
Can you repeat that question again?
Please summarize your view regarding STRs, addressing the pros and cons to our community. State your position as it limits on STRs.
Okay, well, I was the one that actually put in the petition to readdress the STR rules that we had at the time, where people were buying homes up here, thinking that they could use it as an STR, and then also for themselves on the weekends. Then they found out they couldn't, so they sold the house immediately. That's happened quite a few times. It has, in fact, lowered some of the property values at that time. For me, I think highly regulated, with strict laws and strict bylaws to make sure that if there is a problem at an STR, which I have not seen many problems. I mean, we have more problems with LTRs and homeowners than we do with STRs. The security has even made reports of that. They've had one call on an STR in months. So, yeah, the summer's coming, and yes, we have to regulate it, but I believe that it can
Thank
work
you.
for the benefit of the community.
Thank you. Candace?
I don't see them as a terrible issue. They've been useful for our family. When I've had my brother and his wife and my parents come for holidays or something, our house is not big enough to fit everyone. So we've had, STRs are helpful in that sense. I think regardless of whether it's an STR or a weekender or a full-timer, our rules need to be enforced. Bear feeding, trash left outside, late night music, lights, stuff like that. We tend to kind of dump that onto STRs as kind of the scapegoat when a lot of that falls across the whole community. And I don't think it's something that we're enforcing enough or educating enough, I guess, maybe for those who are not up here, frequently. But I don't see STRs as the enemy.
Thank you. Randall?
There have never been restrictions on rentals, period, in the CCNRs, which is what we are to enforce. Regulation based on experience and monitoring, as has been discussed. Fairly and being treated fairly and equally. The owner of an STR property is a property owner, and they're entitled to the same fair and equitable treatment as any other property owner up here. And also the revenue source for the village. We talk about wages. It is a source of outside revenue that comes in and helps sustain the community. So we don't have to buy all the donuts and eclairs. Someone else can do some of that. And also, I've lived in other cities, next to full-time residents. And, you may have an occasional STR that's a problem, but they go away. They're not permanent. So I don't see we have any choice. We follow the rules and address things as they should.
Thank you. Rob?
Thank you. So I don't want people to think I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth, because if you Google me in Santa Barbara, some news stories may come out how I was feverishly against short-term rentals in Santa Barbara, but that's a different community where there's less than 1% vacancy rate, and we had such a large amount of short-term rentals, it was taking off the market long-term rentals that would be available for our workforce. So it depends on the community. Here, we don't have that issue. Short-term rentals are an economic driver for the community, but what needs to happen is strict enforcement of the rules to ensure that we don't have issues with those short-term rentals. I don't have short-term rentals near my house here, but others do, and I've heard from others where it's a real problem, and we just need to enforce those rules.
Thank you. The next question is for all. The cafe is not a required amenity. Other restaurants in the village break even, yet the cafe is in the red for $100,000 a year, some years more. What can be done to make the cafe at least break even? Let's start with Cecilia.
I'm willing to rent the bistro for me. I love cook. I am a business person too. I would like to take care of it and create a revenue for the community instead of expense. I'm well trained to manage people and to be able to be self-sustained and instead of an expense for PMC.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, this has been a problem for many, many years, since I've been up here, since 2000. We used to have it leased out. It worked fine for us. The people who had it leased did make a living. That's something that we should be looking into. I believe, we also have a bylaw that states that we can have a satellite kitchen upstairs. So put a dumbwaiter in, have a satellite kitchen up here. That way it will service the members up top. Have the downstairs, we have a little window so that the kids and the family can go from the swimming pool, go right up there, get themselves a burger, get themselves outside seating. Little things like that might help us. But we have got to realize that they might be, it might be necessary to try and figure out if we can lease it out once again. That might help.
Thank you.
I have no background in the restaurant industry, so I do not want to put any kind of expertise out there, but I would like to see a more varied menu. There are just kind of in today's, food sensitivities and allergies and food preferences now, there's not a lot on our menu that a fair amount of our membership can eat. And I think one example of that is just the menu for tonight's concert on the Green. There is not a viable vegetarian option. It's 2024. What are we doing? I think there's management ways to improve this, but there's also quality in what you are offering that will improve and I think add value to it.
Thank you. Randall?
Yeah. We are a mutual benefit association, and ultimately this decision gets to be made by the members as to what's the priority, how much should be invested in it or not. As was mentioned, leasing it out had worked at one time. You have less outgo and a guaranteed structure. But I think it's up to the members to decide. I know 10.9, the bylaw in 2017 was said that make this thing cost neutral. And that bylaw has been parked and not implemented, which is a very odd way to deal with a bylaw. I think that needs to be addressed. I think also I have an issue with competing with our own village, where we have our own members with their own sweat and equity trying to make a living in this business while we're subsidizing essentially a corporate restaurant with our own assessment dollars. And also, even what we have is questionable. To spend $1 million plus to expand it, it's not.
Thank you.
It's the member's decision.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, so I'm not in the restaurant business either, but my wife's family has been in the restaurant business for 100 years in Long Beach and San Pedro. And I've learned in my last 20 years of being married to her from osmosis how successful restaurants are managed. They look at their food cost, they look at their food waste and minimize both of those, and they serve appropriate food with good service. So time and time again, the first restaurant that people think of is their restaurant to go out to. I want PMC folks to say, hey, let's go to the club for dinner. And for that, it should be a fairly decent place without tape on the carpet and whatnot. And that can be done. We don't have to have gold-lined walls or anything, but we can have a nice place with a nice atmosphere and with good service. That's what counts here, and we could do that
you.
at a level
Thank
that
you.
isn't subsidized.
Yeah, the restaurant business is a very, very difficult business to make profitable. You know, restaurants open and close within a year. It's not easy to make a restaurant profitable or even break even. But restaurants go out of business if they lose $100,000 a year. They don't subsidize them as an amenity or an asset. So we have choices to make, and you know, these are all hard choices. How do you reduce expenses in the restaurant business? How do you generate more income? Well, if you go around PMC at 8 o'clock, try and find a restaurant that's open. Very difficult. Again, if there's a need, yes, we should supply it, but we shouldn't be losing $100,000 a year on a business that isn't even an amenity here.
Thank you. The next question is, how do you stop the division between POA, BOD members with fights and accusations? And we start with Sean. How do you stop the division between the POA, BOD members with fights and accusations?
Passion. Look, the board is not here to, in my opinion, the board is not here to fight with the members and to tell the members what to do. We're here to listen to your needs and your and what you want. Just because, for example, I might not get along with somebody doesn't mean that we cannot come together on issues. And that's really the goal here, is to make sure that the members are heard and that we work together. Not that we have to fight every chance and you know, be against each other every moment and make accusations. It doesn't work. It doesn't benefit the community. So I think bringing the community together is very important. And like I said, you know, even with our employees, you know, even if an employee hates a member, when they're an employee, they should be friendly to that member.
Thank you, Sean. Candace.
I think the board needs to be following the rules and communicating that clearly to the members. And again, just going back to the 2017 vote, it's not clear on the website what exactly, how the vote was worded for the remodel of a yes or no. The results are just listed as a no 700 plus, yes 200 plus, and then we've proceeded. So it's not clear from there how we've been operating. Are we acknowledging the members' input in some way? We need to communicate that. Are we not acknowledging this vote? Okay, why are we not following our own rules? I think that's kind of the cornerstone to how we turn around this temperament right now.
Thank you. Randall.
The question once again is,
How do you stop the division between the POA, BOD members with fights and accusations?
better questions maybe? Sorry, it's just, one, the crickets have been an issue, which is basically this wall between members and getting any indication of a response, that it's recognized or anything's happening. As Candace said, and if you look at 217 and the chronology of events since then, which I've somewhat documented, there seems to have been a lot of just doing things anyhow. As was said by a director, we can't let the members vote. They would never approve it. The board's job is to listen to the community, and we don't have to agree to listen. We have to understand all sides. We can decide later if we agree or not, but to not listen, to not provide an opportunity to be heard on both sides, I think creates a lot of anger and/or despair.
Thank you. Rob?
I believe that everyone should, on the board, should be clear in their decisions, be transparent, and most of all, be kind and respectful to everyone. That's where I operate from. That's on everything I do. And that's how we can reduce this tension that I've witnessed since I've been a member here, that I've seen both on social media, at board meetings. I think we need clear communication, clarity, transparency, kindness, and respect.
Thank you. Ross?
Yeah, this is a big one. Okay, so I think I might take Sean's methodology on this, and that's just ban everybody who has a different opinion. By the way, Sean, 2 of your people who you banned are in the audience. One of them is myself, the other is my wife. So that 5 number is quickly diminishing. The other disclosure I'd like to make is that I'm not related to anybody who is a manager or worker or on a past committee, et cetera, et cetera. My opinions are my own. The biases I have are my own. So back to this issue of the problem between the board and the members. There's a disconnect. It's a disconnect in communication. It's a disconnect between not allowing the members to vote. And Candace, we have the right
Thank
to
you.
vote, and we have the right to
Cecilia?
vote all.
Well, the POA and the BOD, the way I think we should manage this miscommunication, and we have to understand we come from different cultures, different beliefs, and the issue right here is about our budget, and the way for me to stop all that miscommunication and talking to each other is have integrity and do the right thing. Once you're on the POA, do what the community trusts you to do. BOD is, in my opinion, is to inform, to go against or in favor of whatever is benefit the community. Once we're in that place, it's easy to manage all this and start whatever you have to say negative, keep it to yourself, or say in person to the person is you think you have the right to defend yourself, but do it professionally.
Thank you. We have had some removal of grow houses, but what can the board do to keep them from coming back? We start with Candace.
That's a tough one. I kind of see this a little bit as our bear situation as well. We're having to deal with local authorities and law enforcement. I'm not sure what our powers within the POA and the board are in that situation. There are legal parameters in the state to grow, but again, within our community, I would like to see law enforcement really step up and handle this. They pose a larger threat just to our fire safety and our water supply. So this is something that I would like to see drastically addressed. Again, I'm just not sure what our powers are from the side of the board.
Thank you. Randall?
I believe that was a good summary. It's similar to bears. Whatever we're doing, it seems we need to be open to new thoughts, new ideas, how to do it better. And again, there's legal issues that are beyond my knowledge of at this point. But it's a serious issue, and as far as resources, as far as fire hazard, and as far as the community. I don't really know the answer, but I believe that it deserves a little more attention.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, I believe the question was, what can we do to keep them from coming back? That's very difficult to do, but if they are here, we need to act accordingly and act fast. Now, we don't have the legal authority, but we have a community that needs to work together, be vigilant, and report what's going on if you believe that's a grow house, and report it to the POA security and to the sheriff's department, and let's get it taken care of. If that happens and we're quick to take care of those issues, hopefully that will resolve from people thinking this is a good, easy place to come up to and have a grow house. So that's what I think. And I know the laws changed to allow use of marijuana. But we need to stop those grow houses. Those are not legal.
Thank you. Ross?
Yeah, this is a difficult issue because of the privacy laws, and you can't just accuse somebody of having a grow house and then have a SWAT team come in and raid it if you're not certain that that's what it is. It's a very, very difficult issue because of the privacy laws. Now, if you live next to a grow house and you're certain it's a grow house, then you need to report it. I mean, that's the simplest way of dealing with it from my perspective. I'm not sure what the legal and privacy issues are that will restrict patrol from trying to identify a grow house.
Thank you. Alicia?
Cecilia.
I'm sorry, Cecilia.
Cecilia.
I forgot my glasses.
Well, this is a difficult situation, I guess, but we just need to be aware, and if we are aware of, like they say, our neighbor, or I'm aware of any house, a grow house, I just report it and do my best and call sheriffs, call the authority, and let them take care of it. We don't have authority over that, but here in our community, just implement the rules and make sure security patrol, even though they are aware of friends of these people, they should be fair and apply the rules to everybody.
Thank you. Sean?
Look, it's a federal offense to have anything over 6 plants. That's federal offense. It has nothing to do with PMC, POA, or anything like that. If you look at our fine schedule, you'll see that if you're caught with a grow house, your first fine is $5,000, and it goes up from there. So I think right now, we can be vigilant, and if we do find that there is cause to see a house that's being rented out and used as a grow house, because that's usually what it is, it's a rental, 9 times out of 10, then the federal government must come in and take care of the situation. We have to start pushing for law enforcement to take care of these things for us. Because it's not the board's responsibility except to say, look, we can fine you and fine you and fine you until you're forced to sell your house.
Thank you. This will be our last question, and fittingly enough, it states, we want to see more kindness. Can you please tell us something complimentary about your opponents? And and I believe we start with Randall.
Well, I appreciate that they're willing to deal with 1 minute and 2 minute intervals and try to say something intelligent that would be to the betterment of this community and their neighbors. That by itself is up there with bears and grow houses as challenges. There's a lot that needs to be done. We need to work together, and I believe there is a tipping point going on here in this community where we're seeing agreement. even though on a board, I'd like to hope everyone will stand up and be counted if they have a different perspective. And we'll have the benefit of that kind of a dynamic in decision-making.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, thank you. So first, back to that last question on the grow houses. I stuttered on my answer because I was thinking of a joke. I just told my son Jack, I said to him, you know, your mother rarely rolls a joint, but when she does, it's usually her ankle. But aside from that, you know, I want to compliment everyone here at the days with me for having the courage to be up here, be put on the hot seat. It's not easy. And everybody, that it takes a lot of courage. And a lot of us are coming from have the same ideas about the same issues. We can find common ground with each other on some of these issues that need to be resolved. And I've heard that from each of you through these forums. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross?
I would like to see every candidate be more for the members than for getting on the board. Getting on the board is a temporary position, yes, great. We have power for 3 years to guide the community towards a better community. However, and I want to say that all the candidates up here have various and assorted skill sets. And we need that on the board and not just rigid views. We need to be open to what, I think we've said this over and over again, listening to what the members believe, what the members think, so that we can better craft a policy that helps the community.
Thank you. Cecilia?
Well, all I have to say to the candidates, seems like, and for me, I don't know many people, but everybody looked like great people, great college. Rob, you so kind, and I like the way you smile. Maybe me being the less experienced board member here, compared to everybody, I do appreciate all kind of support and input that you guys have towards me, and I appreciate the support and the time everybody spent on this time. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody here brings something to the table, and every one of these candidates here have great ideas that we can all work together and find the compromise. But more importantly, it's about you and what you guys bring to the table, and really what the community is all about. And this is just an example of members that might have different views, might have different opinions. We can find the compromise, and I think that you as the members would be very lucky to have any one of them on the board.
Thank you. Candace?
There have been a number of people up here who've done a tremendous amount of almost investigative reporting into our books and our finances, and that should be something that we applaud and utilize. That's free man hours digging into how we operate. And regardless of who gets on the board, I would hope that we all can at least still give input and be insight into how to better run our community. I do believe iron sharpens iron, and being kind of held, to a standard of how we do things is a tremendous benefit to us. And I don't want to lose any of the research and kind of digging through the mess that has been done, because it's valuable information. And I'd like us to use that to better our practices going forward. So I appreciate everyone and their hard work to really dig through the mess.
And did we start with Randall? Okay. I think we did. So that brings us to our closing remarks from all the candidates. The candidates will have a minute to address the audience for their closing remarks, and we'll start with Sean. Thank you.
Me again?
Yeah, why not?
Well, thank you all very much for coming. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. I hope we gave you the information you were looking for to make a solid decision on the way you wanted to vote. In closing, I would like to say that I personally would like to see a bridge between the youth and the aging in place. I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to work together and to learn. The youth can learn from the aging. The aging can have the enjoyment of having a book read to them, or having someone come up and take out the trash for them. These are things that I would love to see for the community. Sorry, I get emotional. But I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You guys mean a lot to me, and this community means a lot to me. And I want to see everyone really enjoy everything we have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Candace?
I'm encouraged that everyone up here is in favor of putting a pause on this larger remodel and really going back and assessing what our plans are and how we do that responsibly with our member input. That project is such a contentious issue. I'd like to see it handled well, and really taking our member input to heart and with a vote. I'd like to see us, we've gone down a path of spending so much money. We still haven't broken ground. We still have not started this to that extent. I think we still need to take the time and the effort to recenter ourselves and look at what this plan is, because I think it's very far off track of what the members actually want.
Thank you. Randall?
To reinforce that comment, I mean, we are a mutual benefit association. And one of the most divisive things I've seen in looking forward and backward here has been how things have been managed. And the end note to my opening comment, which I ran out of time, I don't see how we can agree to proceed until we have agreement regarding tight and transparent controls over the entire process. We have experience. We need to go back and see what we missed, see what we learned, see how we can do it properly and transparently. And these tight time windows are really a challenge. And every dollar spent here comes from the pocket of a member. They all need to be treated with respect and spent responsibly. It is a daunting responsibility, not something I take lightly at all. Any follow-up anybody wishes, I'm happy to elaborate on anything I've said today.
Thank you.
Take a business card and send me
Rob?
a note.
Yeah, thank you, Augie. So as Randall mentioned earlier, it's really difficult to have a meaningful dialogue with 1 minute soundbite answers to questions. Therefore, I'll be here after the meeting as well to answer any of your questions individually. Again, I have this document that shows what I do at the Housing Authority. I have cards that you can take. Also, I'll be holding a coffee with a candidate in this room next Saturday at 3 p.m. So please come spend some time in a less pressured atmosphere if you want to get to know me, because many of you don't know me and I don't know you. I'd be happy to spend some time with you. Also, I have my website, pmcforever.com. That's PMC, the number 4, ever.com, where you can learn more about me and the positions I take for being a board member.
Thank you. Ross?
Yeah, I'm not as sophisticated as Rob, so I don't have all that stuff. I just have myself. And my perspective on the community is, look, this building here, which I actually love and have worked in for, doing productions in this building and plugging in lights everywhere. And those 3 productions were very successful and children loved it. And I wish I had not had COVID this last time to basically not be able to follow up with doing more productions. But all that being said, I would say the community has so much to offer and we should maintain that with the members. We need to have better dialogue, members and the board. We can't have this separation and try to get
Thank you.
forward.
Cecilia?
Yeah,
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and this has been a wonderful experience for me. And I will just keep on pushing, then, all of us should fight, the members, board of directors, to give the community the right to vote and make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we draw this morning's Meet the Candidates Forum to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to all of our candidates for their time, insight,